Yeah, Vice-President Kamala Harris hasn't made a public appearance since Joe Biden quit and said that she'd be the Democrat nomination in the November election against Donald Trump. But she's already made it clear that she will run, and it's going to get very personal. She tweeted, "I will do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump and his extreme Project 2025 agenda." And that's just fear-mongering, of course. The 2025 agenda is actually a paper by some conservative think tank, and Trump says it's too extreme and, hasn't bothered reading most of it, so doesn't endorse it. So stand by for a lot more mud and misinformation. Joining me is John Hinderaker, who's the president of the Centre for American Progress and writer with the fantastic Powerline blog. John Hinderaker, great to see you again. Look, Kamala Harris is, almost dead certain to be the Democrats' candidate at the election. Can the Democrats now win with her like they couldn't with Biden?
Well, I think they can, Andrew. But before we jump to that conclusion, let me just point out that Joe Biden withdrew from the race, almost immediately endorsed Kamala Harris. Bill and Hillary Clinton jumped in, endorsed Harris. But the New York Times rushed out an editorial saying, not so fast. We want an open process where the leaders can choose the best candidate at the convention. And Barack Obama put out a tweet which echoed that theme. Let's have an open process. And he never mentioned Kamala Harris. So I don't know, Andrew. We may very well be in for some excitement here in the Democratic Party over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I agree. That's already a bad start in terms of the enthusiasm factor they desperately need to get out the vote. But to Kamala, I've said she presents as an airhead. That's widely that's her image now. She's been a total failure in the one clear job that Joe Biden gave her, which was to stop illegal immigrants. But are we at a risk of underestimating her?
Andrew, I think we are, assuming that she does get the nomination. And frankly, I think the Democrats would be crazy not to rally behind her. Assuming that she gets the nomination, the problem Republicans have is that Donald Trump has got such a low ceiling. I mean, here he's been polling against Joe Biden, who falls down and can't read a teleprompter. Donald Trump is not over 48% in any battleground state. Yes, Kamala Harris is an airhead, but she doesn't fall down and she can read a teleprompter. I think this race is going to be too close to call.
Wow. Okay, look, I don't know. I still think Trump should have the edge, but I've got to admit, identity politics helps Kamala Harris, right? The black vote, the women's vote. How do you think that bit is going to play out, especially with the left claiming, well, for the women's vote, Trump just doesn't threaten abortion rights, but is now threatening the right to contraception, which I think is a stretch, but I mean, they're going with it.
Well, it's ridiculous, Andrew, as you know. Here's what I would say. I don't think identity politics are as powerful as they once were. And you see that with the way Trump is polling among blacks and Hispanics. He may carry the Hispanic vote this year. What I do think is that the press will get behind Kamala. And one thing that we're going to hear just nauseatingly is first woman president. Remember that in 2016? They played that tune with Hillary Clinton. We're going to hear it again. This is our opportunity to elect the first woman president. I think that's the main place where identity politics will play a role.
Yeah, except, we shouldn't forget that when she did have a chance to actually put her case to get elected, that was in the primaries, the Democrat primaries that Joe Biden won 4 years ago. She was so hopeless that she had to bow out before a single vote had been cast. Now, we can imagine a new Kamala Harris that's really crisp and hard at it in debates, but that is someone we have to imagine. She hasn't actually demonstrated that. Or have I overlooked some performances that you've noticed that make you say, wait a minute, this woman's got it?
Andrew, you're absolutely right. In 2020, she was gone before the Iowa caucuses. I mean, the voters just didn't like her, and there is no evidence that she's done anything in the last 4 years to make the voters like her better. And some other things have come out. I mean, she's a rather nasty person. She has terrible problems managing a staff. Her staff turnover is just unbelievably high. And she is not in any way a formidable candidate, but half the voters will not vote for Donald Trump under any circumstances.
I've been really gagging at some of the hypocrisy here, John, that all this praise here too, by the way, as well as from Obama and, you know, from the New York Times and all these other, oh, Joe Biden has done the patriotic decision, he's put country above self, you know. Look, what nonsense. He was blasted out and he only gave up when it was clear that he had no money, no support, no poll support either, no support from his own senators and congressmen. And he quit too late for the Democrats to get their best candidate to run against him. Spare us this hypocrisy.
Andrew, you're completely correct. Joe Biden was forced to walk the plank with a cutlass at his back. He and Jill held on to power as long as they possibly could. You know, a year ago, I predicted that Joe Biden would not be the Democrats' nominee in 2024. I said they would be crazy to nominate Joe Biden, and that prediction came true, but much too late if you're a Democrat.
Well, you said it's now a 50-50 race, but if you really had to put your lovely house that you're sitting in now on this, what would you call the election result?
Andrew, at the end of the day, I don't think that Kamala Harris can run away from the record of the Biden administration. And as I've said before, I didn't think that a president with a record as terrible as Joe Biden's could be reelected. And I'll stand by that with Kamala Harris. I think Trump is going to win.